Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I am your host and a wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography. On today's episode, I have a really lovely chat with Hilary. Hilary and her husband met while both living in London. He's from Wales, she's a Kiwi, but they've both lived in London for years now. We chat through their love story, a beautiful Piha Beach proposal, and then going on to have 2 weddings within the same 12 months, as well as having a baby in between them. I know there are a lot of Kiwis living in London. I was one for a little spell of time, and many of you come home to get married. So this is another one of those great episodes about planning a wedding from the other side of the world. I know a bunch of you are listening as well. I can see the analytics of listeners, and the most are from New Zealand, obviously, and then Australia, and then the UK, which is probably where the most Kiwis are in the world. Grateful to have you here, and let me know where you're listening from. I find that so interesting. If you share that with me on Instagram, that would be so cool. But yes, loved this chat with Hilary. They got married at the McCallum residence in New Zealand and then had a big London city wedding as well. So we talked a little bit about both of them, the whole experience, what she learnt, the importance of having an on-the-day coordinator. We know how important that vendor is. Choosing really good vendors that you vibe with. Helpful tips for honing in on vision and styling, and all about how they pulled both their days together. I really loved this chat, and I know that you will too. So enjoy episode 85 with Hilary. Hi Hilary, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Excited to chat all about your wedding.
Thank you, great to be here. Thanks for asking me. It's nice to have a chance to sort of reflect on the day again.
So to get started with, if you could just tell me a bit about you and your partner, how you guys met, and your life together.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Hilary and I'm 30, just turned 34, and I moved to London in 2018 and been here I'm still here, so it's 7 years, almost 7 years now, and met my partner over here, Erin, who is originally from Wales but has lived in London for a really long time. And we met on Hinge. So it was quite funny. He had just been on sabbatical to New Zealand, and so his Hinge profile photos were of him in New Zealand. So I was like, oh, cool, this guy obviously likes the country enough to have gone there, and thought he was quite cute. So I gave him a like, and then, we've been dating ever since. I think we started dating spring 2019, and then just never stopped. I think at the time we neither of us were looking for anything very serious, so it was quite casual for a while, but I think that was quite good in that we just didn't put any pressure on the situation, especially being from different sides of the world. And then we just didn't want to stop seeing each other. So we are still together, bought a house in London and just had a baby. So you just never know where life's going to go.
Oh, so nice. Cute story. It's definitely one of the most common ways people meet now, dating apps. So I love it.
Modern romance.
Good. Yeah. So you guys were together for quite a while and then got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal story?
Yeah, sure. So we were actually back in New Zealand. We had friends of mine were getting married in Christchurch, and we were coming back for that. They had lived in London and had met Erin, so kindly invited him to their wedding as well. And so we flew back for that and for Christmas and Kiwi summer. And before we left, I think Erin knew that it was going to be quite a busy holiday, so he was like, oh, how about we just keep this one day free for us to do something nice. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, that's a really good idea. So when that day rolled around, it was beautiful weather. So we decided to go for a hike out to Piha, And I thought that would be a good thing to show him because it's pretty special for New Zealand. And yeah, so we hiked up Kitty Kitty waterfalls and went for a swim. And unbeknownst to me, the ring was in Aaron's backpack while we were swimming. So he quickly wanted to get out of the water, which I thought was a bit strange at the time. But so yeah, and then we just went for a walk along the beach, and then he started just saying all of these nice things, and then he was like fumbling with his pocket, and I was like, all of a sudden everything sort of clicked into place, and I was like, holy crap, he's going to propose. And then as soon as that thought came into my mind, he was down on one knee, and I think I just burst into tears. So yeah, it was I was completely shocked. My friends think I was silly for being shocked, and they were fully expecting it, but I wasn't. And yeah, it was really lovely because before we left that day to go hiking, he had told my family that he was going to propose. And so when we got back to the house, they knew and had some bubbles in the fridge waiting. And so it was really nice to be able to celebrate while we were home with family. And then when we were catching up with friends, I could tell them in person, which was really lovely. So yeah, he did very well.
Such a sweet story, and yeah, a bit place to do it as well. Got a bit of the surprise factor there. Love it.
Yeah.
And had you been one of those girls that always dreamed about your wedding? Did you have like a specific vision in mind? What were those kind of first steps when starting to plan it?
Yeah, so I wasn't the girl who had planned their wedding, which might be able to tell from not expecting to get engaged. Just a bit like not really, hadn't really thought about it. And so that made it actually quite hard when you're starting to plan a wedding because it's quite overwhelming these days with the amount of choice you can have, like the type of wedding, the styling, yeah, everything. There's just so many options now. And because I hadn't ever had like a vision of what my dream day would be, I found it quite hard to know where to start. So it was sort of when we decided on our venue, that was when the whole day sort of came to me and I could really picture it. So I was back in New Zealand in May that year after the engagement on a sabbatical type thing. And Mum and I were looking at venues, and the first venue we went to was the McCallum residence because we knew we wanted to get married in Auckland. Well, we knew we were going to have two weddings, which is complicated because we didn't want anyone to feel obligated to fly anywhere. And we have loads of special people in both countries. So we knew we were going to do two sorts of celebrations. But we didn't know what each of them was sort of would look like size-wise, etc. But anyway, for the New Zealand wedding, we knew it was going to be Auckland, and friends of mine had gotten married at the McCallum residence a couple years prior, and I just thought it was beautiful. And it is beautiful in photos, but when you're there in person, it's like something else. And I think Mum and I walked in and we were completely bowled away by it. And I think it was just the whole package kind of thing in terms of it's also luxury accommodation, which your whole family can stay at the residence, and your bridal party. And then there was a private beach and beautiful gardens. And it was just, you could kind of just picture the whole weekend. And it was just so gorgeous. So once Mum and I saw that, we did look at a couple more venues, but I think we were already sold on McCallum. And then from there, I could kind of picture the wedding. So because the venue's so amazing, I felt like you didn't really need to really do much to it to be able to pull the day together. So I used, it sounds a bit silly, but I used like the colors of the environment to sort of make the colors of the wedding. So there's like a beautiful beach and sea, and so the blue and the yellow I sort of tied into the color scheme with the bridesmaids' dresses and had some blue in the flowers. And then otherwise kept things quite simple and white and sort of beachy but luxury at the same time. And when we were actually touring the residents, Dan, who was the guy on the ground there showing us around, he took us to the boathouse, which is sort of their smaller wedding option. You can either sort of do a smaller wedding there or a big wedding with a marquee on the lawn. And when he was showing us the boathouse, he said, "Oh, we haven't actually done this yet, but you can have sort of one long lunch, like one big long table out on the deck of the boathouse." And I thought that was such a cool idea. And friends of mine had done basically that and their wedding in Pideri on Waiheke. And it was one of my bridesmaids, Jess. She had a beautiful wedding out in Waiheke, and I thought that would be a really nice sort of intimate vibe. And it sort of made us decide to keep the wedding a bit smaller as well, which was helpful when we were organising it quite quickly. So yeah, after we went to the venue, sort of everything kind of, I could picture the whole day, and then from there it was much easier to sort of start planning and putting things into place.
Love that. Such a special spot. And no, I think that's such great advice, kind of choosing your venue and then figuring out the colours and the vibe, and that makes so much more sense, because I think some people are set on this specific theme or whatever and try and like force it on a venue in a way, and it just like doesn't really work. So pulling
Yeah, for sure.
inspiration from your surroundings is really good advice. But yeah, so beautiful there, and I love the boathouse, the beach, and then yeah, there's so many different elements. Just as beautiful. So you've touched on a few things there, but what were your sort of top priorities, the most important elements of the day?
Yeah, I think there were probably a few. I think we wanted it to be like quite a special weekend for our family in particular and the bridal party, because we obviously live overseas. So for me, I wanted to spend like good quality time with my bridesmaids who live in New Zealand, and then my family who are New Zealand based. And then for Aaron's family who are coming over for the wedding, we wanted to show them like a really special weekend and sort of show off New Zealand and show off home and give them something amazing, because they were making the effort to fly out to New Zealand. So I think we wanted to prioritize sort of that sort of beautiful weekend and a beautiful occasion for our family and bridal party in particular, which the McCallum residence definitely provided, because it's this like gorgeous place and everyone can stay on site. And so we had a beautiful dinner the night before, and everyone gets up and has breakfast together, and so it just automatically creates this really gorgeous weekend. And then for the wedding itself, I think you just want your guests to have a great time, and we wanted a chance to sort of catch up with everyone as well. And so I think having a smaller wedding lent itself to that. I think we had 50 people or 54 people in the end. I think I squeezed in a couple extras. That was really nice, being able to like catch up with everyone properly. And then I guess from there it was food and drink. My parents always love hosting people. They're big foodies and love their wine. So it was nice to be able to put on a good spread and make sure everyone was well fed. And then I think for me and Aaron, I wanted great photos. So finding a photographer who we've both felt really comfortable with, but then we would also capture some like really amazing memories. And then probably, I feel like I'm prioritizing everything, but the last thing was probably music. We wanted a great band to get the dance floor going, especially at a smaller wedding. It can be a bit harder, but the band were amazing, Kid Radio, and we splashed out on getting the lead singer to do like an acoustic set while people were arriving before the ceremony and then in cocktail hour, and that was quite intimate and just created a really nice vibe. So yeah, that's quite a long list of priorities, but they were all important
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Definitely makes a difference having that live music, I think, as well. So special. But yeah, all important things. And actually, can you tell us a bit about the UK celebration? Was that before your New Zealand one? And yeah, what did that look like in planning that?
So we did the New Zealand wedding first. It was quite hard actually knowing what order to do them in, just because we didn't want the wedding that came first to be considered the wedding. And friends, I've got some really good girlfriends still in London, and it was actually quite hard knowing whether people should come for the New Zealand wedding, which was the first wedding, as was at the wedding. But we were really adamant we were going to have two, so no one felt any pressure to get to either. And so we had the New Zealand wedding first, mainly because my dad was not very well. And so we wanted to maximize him being able to be there, which then on the day, it was a bit hard for friends of ours in the UK who weren't there, because it did feel like we were missing some really important people. But we had our UK celebration within the same 12 months. So we said we wanted to definitely have both weddings in a year, which is absolutely bonkers from like a planning and budget perspective. But we really wanted to. I felt like if we didn't do that, we maybe just wouldn't do the UK wedding, especially because we had a baby in between. And so life was getting a bit busy. But yeah, so I think when we were organising the UK wedding, we really learned a lot from having organised one wedding already, which made it a lot easier to sort of plan a second one, because we had learned a lot of lessons in terms of how much the venue impacts, how many other vendors you need to hire. So the UK, we kept it much simpler and did a town hall and a restaurant, and the restaurant provides everything. So you don't need to hire food, tables, chairs, cutlery, it's all staff, it's all provided. So it made things a lot easier. And then I think planning the two, it was kind of cool in a way, because then you got to lean into two completely different styling ideas. So I had quite a lot of fun with planning the New Zealand wedding and making it more kiwi, summer, beachy. And then our UK wedding, we did winter, restaurant, city, but sexier kind of vibe. And so it was really fun, having very lucky to organize two weddings and do two different vibes. But yeah, it had its challenges as well, in terms of not having everyone we wanted at each wedding. But that's just what happens when you have a relationship across two hemispheres.
Yeah, so cool that you could do that and then sort of flex your creativity for both celebrations as well. So can we talk a bit about your wedding outfits, maybe touch on them for both celebrations as well? Your dress, how was that process, finding it, getting it made? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so again, because I hadn't ever pictured my wedding, I found dress shopping quite difficult, just because I didn't know what my bridal look would be. And so I went to a couple UK wedding shops just to try on a whole lot of dresses and try and narrow things down. So I went to the Own Studio and the Fall Bride, which are two really beautiful contemporary bridal stores in London, which I'd recommend to any other Kiwi brides in London. I didn't end up finding either of my dresses at those shops, but the women there were so helpful, and I think it was just useful trying on a load to sort of figure out what you don't like as well as what you like. And it seems so silly, but the penny really clicked that things that I wear in my normal life, I should also translate that into a wedding dress. I never wear anything really slinky or bodycon, so why would I ever wear that in a wedding dress? Tend to wear more oversized things anyway. So that sort of, when I figured that out, I was like, okay, yeah, just stick to what I know and what suits your body and blah, blah, blah. So then I actually found my dress on Net-a-Porter or Net-a-Porter, I don't know how you say it. And then I just filtered my white dress and found this gorgeous dress from Lanvin, which it wasn't specifically a wedding dress. It comes in other colours, but it felt really me. Just, I wear a lot of strapless stuff, and it's very flowy, and it had this really beautiful ruffle on it, which I thought it lent itself to sort of a beach wedding. And so I got it delivered to my tiny flat in London at the time and tried it on at home. And as soon as I put it on, I was like, oh, this is my dress. And it was really nice to feel that, because I hadn't felt that in any of the bridal shops. And because the dress was quite simple, it gave me a lot of flexibility, I think, in terms of styling, because I still at that point wasn't quite sure of the look or the vibe that I wanted to go for. So the dress enabled me to sort of have lots of options or flexibility with what I wanted to do. I did end up getting a veil. I wasn't sure about the whole veil thing, but when I was going to the wedding shops trying them on, it was just really fun. And I thought, oh, such a cool accessory. Like, you never get to wear one probably ever again. So I just thought, why not go for it? And it did help make the dress look more bridal. And I think the other factor with the dress was that we knew that we were going to start trying to have a baby, but we didn't know how long it would take us to get pregnant. We thought it could take us quite a long time, but this dress sort of gave me the option of being pregnant or not, because there was lots of room. And we were very lucky to get pregnant quickly, which I don't take for granted at all. Had lots of friends, had lots of hard times with that. So I just want to, but then had to do some quick math about whether I could even get to the New Zealand wedding, because you can't fly after so many weeks. But thankfully we could, and thankfully my dress had room for a big bump. So I ended up being, I think, 32 weeks pregnant on the wedding day in New Zealand, which was a factor for having an earlier start time and an earlier finish time, because I was exhausted by the end of the day. And then I did also buy myself I bought cheap heels from Zara, because I didn't think I'd last in heels very long. And then I bought myself some nicer flats from a New York brand I can't remember the name of, but just to make myself feel nicer when you put flats on, to have something a bit more jazzy. So that was the New Zealand wedding outfits. And then Aaron he did a custom sort of linen suit from a suit shop in London called Suit Supply, who were really good to work with, and you can sort of customize everything and pick your fabric, etc. But still quite reasonable, I think. And that was just leaning into the summer wedding vibe and the color scheme that I had suggested. And then for the bridesmaids, I just suggested for them, I wanted like a butter yellow, which was quite a trend at the time, and I think still is, but just really worked with the color scheme, and I knew it would look great on all of them. And I just let them pick whatever dress they sort of felt good in, so they would hopefully wear it again and also just feel great on the day. So yeah, that's the New Zealand wedding outfits.
Yeah, did you end up wearing the same dress for the UK one, or got something different?
Oh yes, no, I got something different for the UK just because we were doing a winter wedding and more of a city vibe. So I just got a dress off the rack from a brand called Rexo. I did go in store this time and try it on, and it was full length sleeves, much more covered up, but a bit slinkier, but not tight. And just sort of lent into more of a city look wedding. And I didn't do a veil for that, but I had some really high heeled shoes, which was fun, and then like a fun sparkly bag just to make it a bit more city and a bit more casual. But so I felt like I could be a little bit more casual, have a bit more fun with it maybe for the UK one.
You did have a bridal party. How was that process, choosing them? Did you find that quite easy?
Yeah, it was easy in terms of who I wanted to have. So I had two of my besties who have been my besties since high school. And so it was really nice having like friends who have known you for that long be there on the day, and it was just felt really special. And then I had a third bridesmaid in New Zealand, my one of my best friends, Christina. She was also pregnant and actually ended up giving birth a few weeks before the New Zealand wedding.
Wow.
So we decided that she'd we didn't even know if she'd be able to even come to the wedding, and she pulled off a miracle and made it happen, which is like incredibly amazing of her. But yeah, we decided she wouldn't do the whole bridesmaid thing on the day, just because with a brand new baby, you don't know what the day will bring. But it was really nice she was there and in a yellow dress, so we got some really nice photos together. And then the hard part was I've got two best girlfriends in London, and I obviously wanted them to be bridesmaids at the New Zealand wedding too. But I didn't want them to be pressured to come to New Zealand when we were organising this wedding quite late. And I knew they didn't have a trip planned home anyway. So I said, there's no pressure to come to New Zealand. Obviously, if you do, then, you know, this will be the situation. But we are definitely having a UK wedding. I need you at my UK wedding. And so we agreed that they wouldn't come to the New Zealand wedding, and they would be my bridesmaids for the London wedding. And yeah, it was definitely hard not having all the girls there at each day, but I think it worked out in the end in terms of, you know, the New Zealand girls were at the New Zealand wedding, and the London girls, who are still a big part of my London life, were at the London wedding. So that was the challenging part, I think. But choosing the people, yeah, it wasn't hard. Yeah.
And you touched on the guest list a bit already, having those kind of both celebrations. But yeah, did you find that hard at all to narrow down in each place, or did you even have to do that?
Yeah, it was. We did, just because the New Zealand wedding was small. It was 50 people, and so there was definitely more people in New Zealand I could have invited. So that was a bit tricky. But and also we weren't sure how many people from the UK were going to come, and so we had a few more than we were anticipating, which is very lucky and really amazing that they wanted to come. But then it left spots for New Zealand people. So that was a little bit hard, but I think it all worked out for the best, and the New Zealand wedding did feel like super intimate, and it did feel like a really close-knit group of people, and I did manage to squeeze in, you know, people from high school, uni, work, who are all really close and important to me. So it did feel, I think that's a really cool thing about your wedding, is like you don't often have all your people in one room. And so that was really special in New Zealand, especially having some of our worlds collide with some UK people coming over. And then the UK wedding, we had a much bigger wedding. It was 100, and I think it was 100 people. Because Erin has a huge network over here and a much bigger family, so we could invite all the extended family, and really make sure we were like almost over inclusive for the UK wedding. So we didn't have to worry about guest lists so much over here. So yeah, the two weddings have its different sorts of challenges, I guess.
Yeah, so interesting to hear that kind of planning alongside each other. And then, yeah, sounds like such an insane busy with everything you guys had going on. But yeah, love
it
that.
was.
Oh, I bet. Can you talk us through a bit more about the Kiwi wedding, maybe a little bit leading up to it, and yeah, how the whole day went? Any highlights or favorite moments?
Oh yeah, it was honestly so special. I didn't think I would love my wedding as much as I did. Like, I didn't really think a wedding was such a big deal, but I honestly loved it so much, and it was one of my favorite weekends and days ever. I understand why everyone says that, because it really was. I think it was really nice. I think we had a week or so before the wedding. We'd flown back to New Zealand and having a lovely Kiwi holiday, and some friends and family had flown in from the UK. We were sort of catching up with them. So that was sort of nice, and I guess destination wedding for those guys in terms of getting a holiday out of it as well, which was cool. And then the wedding weekend itself was awesome, because at the McCallum residence, you get to go for the whole weekend, and we had everyone stay on site, the bridal party and family, and it was really nice having a dinner the night before to sort of break the ice, and everyone got to meet each other, which was really cool, and just got you all excited for the next day. And then sort of felt like you're having a sleepover with your besties, which you haven't done for like such a long time. So it was really cute. And and then waking up on the gorgeous property. We got incredibly lucky with the weather. It was almost too hot, which is, not something you should ever complain about, but we did worry that I think we ordered a few more like sun umbrellas and things, and fans, and coordinator Daria threw in last minute some parasols, which went down really well to sort of keep the sun off everyone as they're walking around on the day. And then just getting ready with the girls was always like so nice, and it was just very casual hanging out. The boys are going for a swim, and we're just having coffees and catching up and gossiping and having hair and makeup done. It was just really good quality girl time, which was awesome, especially because I don't get to see them that often. So that was really special. And then all of a sudden it was time to walk down for the ceremony, and then I think that's when the sort of nerves and excitement really kicked in, and we're all like giggly and teary, and it was really nice, really emotional. And we hadn't sort of had a chance to see a lot of our New Zealand friends when we got back, so it was the first time we were seeing a lot of people as well. And I was also heavily pregnant, and people were seeing me pregnant for the first time, so it was a bit weird. So I waddled down the aisle, and then the ceremony was one of my favorite parts. I wasn't expecting it to be. I sort of saw it as like the formal part of the day, but we had an amazing celebrant, Lisa, who just does such a great job. She just nailed us as a couple, and her spiel that she did about us and our families and stuff was so perfect, and she just guided us through the whole thing so well that the ceremony ended up just being really fun, really relaxed, and really like special and emotional. And it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the day. When the ceremony finished, I was like, oh, can we do that again? Like it was so nice. And so the ceremony was definitely a highlight. And then from there, we had like a cocktail canapé hour with Sam from the band playing his guitar beautifully in the background. So it just was really like such a relaxing but fun afternoon, sort of catching up with everyone. And we did a few family photos under the Pahudakawa tree. And then, sat down for a long lunch, late lunch, early dinner, and under the umbrellas looking out over the ocean. It was just, it was absolutely gorgeous. And I just feel so lucky that it all just came together, and had a few speeches at the table. And then Erin and I, after dinner, went up for a golden hour photo shoot up in the farm, which was unreal. Another like favorite moment of the day, I think, because you obviously don't see, we decided not to see each other before the ceremony, and then you sort of haven't had a chance to sort of be together and take it all in. And so the golden hour photo shoot was just us, and we just got a chance to be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, we're having such a fun day. And so that was really nice, just to have a moment, the two of us, to do that. The sunset was beautiful, and the farm background I loved, and we just had loads of fun up there with Amanda, our photographer. And so that felt like a really special moment as well. And then we came down and the band kicked off, and espresso martinis rolled out for everyone who could have them. And the dance floor kicked off, and it was really nice. I wish I could do it all again.
Sounds like such an epic day. So many cool moments in there. Love that. What did you kind of find the hardest part about the whole wedding planning process? Is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little bit differently?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have any regrets or anything I would have done differently. I did find the planning process hard. I would say the beginning is the hardest. Beginning and end, I think, were the hardest. The beginning is just like knowing where to start is just like quite overwhelming. But once I had like got the vision and I created a mood board, and so from that, every time I came up to like a difficult decision, I just referred back to the mood board and be like, okay, what napkin color do you want? It's like, what? So then just go back to the mood board and be like, oh, this will work. So I found the beginning the hardest, and then the end, just because all of a sudden everyone gets back in touch. They've got really like specific questions on timings and things like that, and it just starts getting really busy right when you're sort of trying to like host friends and family and trying not to be an organizer. And then that's when on the day coordinator Daria, she took over and was like the best money we spent, I think, was just having her help. The McCallum residence, I think, requires, or at the time they required you to have an on the day coordinator, and I didn't think, I was like, oh, I'll organize it. We don't need one, but I was so glad that we did get Daria. Because yeah, those few weeks before the wedding, she sort of takes over all the communications, and so it means I just liaise with her, and then she'll come to me and be like, I've got 3 questions I need you to answer, and then she'll go off and sort it all out rather than me needing to email like 12 different people. And then on the day, yeah, she runs the day, and so that took all the stress away from that end part. I would say the beginning and the end definitely the hardest, and so no regrets because we had amazing Daria.
Yeah. Such a key vendor, honestly, like comes up over and over again. But yeah, being able to just lift off that stress, especially in that really like crucial end part, is so
Yeah,
helpful. So yeah, cool to
definitely.
hear that. Did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? What did that look like? Was it straight back to the UK, hanging out with family for a bit more? Yeah, can you tell us about that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so we had the New Zealand wedding right at the end of our trip home to New Zealand, and I basically needed to fly out the next day to get home in time for the baby, which was a bit sad because you have this huge high of the wedding, and we didn't have a lot of time to sort of just soak it all in. But yeah, we needed to get back for the baby. And so there wasn't a honeymoon as such. But I think because we had been in New Zealand for a couple of weeks before the wedding, that's obviously an amazing holiday. So we felt like we'd already had an amazing break. And then finishing with the wedding was almost like the high of it. And we obviously had a baby about to arrive, so we were a bit distracted. But we're definitely using honeymoon as an excuse to go on a cool trip another time. Erin and I love traveling, so we're thinking of maybe going to Japan this year and using saying that's our honeymoon as an excuse to do something a bit different and a bit cool.
Yeah, I had another big stage of life to focus on right after that. So absolutely
Yeah.
fair enough. But yeah, cool to just use it as something to look forward to as well. Was there any sort of helpful resources you use in terms of finding like inspiration or different vendors, any kind of apps, websites, anything you'd recommend?
Yeah, definitely. I think being a Kiwi overseas, trying to plan a wedding back home, the Together Journal is obviously an incredible resource, and they have international content, but so many New Zealand weddings, of course. And their website has loads of real weddings, so I found that awesome to go and look on, and you just see loads of different vendors. And I found it also really helpful to look at other weddings which had been at your venue, which yeah, the Together Journal just have so many weddings now. So that's a massive source of inspiration. And then Instagram is great. Just use the algorithm in your favor. So once you start following New Zealand wedding vendors, like the suggestion function works a treat, and you start following one New Zealand photographer and suggests, 5 others you could start following, etc. And so that was really helpful, particularly because being overseas, I'm not on the ground or sort of out of the loop of, what florists are available these days. And so, yeah, just use the algorithm, make it work for you. And what else? Pinterest. Unsurprisingly, I found it really helpful having the board within a board feature. So you have your New Zealand wedding board, and then you can subdivide it into other boards. Just, it was quite helpful sort of narrowing things down, like what do you want the bridesmaid's dress to look like, or the stationery, or, so I found that quite helpful. And then other Instagram accounts, I found the best accounts to follow were photographers, because they sort of showcase the whole wedding. And so you get lots of different ideas. So I found, following New Zealand wedding photographers in particular really helpful. And then also international content, just for more ideas. You just see more, just different stuff. The anti-bride's really cool, really contemporary, and showcase some pretty incredible weddings, which, it was just nice for inspiration. And then we use paperless post for our invites. I found that to be a really great service, and had really cool designs for free or for not much money. And Google Sheets for the big tracker spreadsheet, boring but helpful. And and good old PowerPoint for the mood board. I think and just talking to your vendors, actually. So we were organizing our wedding with like 8 months to go, which is quite short. And so we'd often email someone and they wouldn't be available, but they'd suggest like 3 other people. And that's how we found Lisa, our celebrant. And she was like the perfect fit for us. So I feel very lucky that, that Kiwi network, people like recommend each other, and that was really nice. Definitely ask vendors and Daria, she had suggestions for other people we could contact. And so did the McCallum residents. So they know the industry better than we do, obviously. So just using the vendor network, I think, was really good as well.
Yeah, such great advice. It's definitely a strong, small community here. Everyone knows each other, but so helpful for just getting recce's. You've given a lot of amazing advice already, but is there anything else you would say to an engaged couple planning their wedding at the moment?
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh, just I think this is probably what everyone says, but try and enjoy it. Like, if it's not your bag, organizing a big event, it can be quite overwhelming. But try and make the process of it fun as well, because the day itself is so short, but you're going to spend months organizing this one event, which seems crazy, but so try and have fun along the way. And I think maybe another tip is just finding vendors who you really click with, and that you feel really confident in, because your vendors are all going to be with you on your big day. And so it's really helpful if you get on with them. So like your hair and makeup girls in the morning, we had Danny from the Peach Club, and she was so cool and just really easy to chat to and put us at ease. And then Lisa, our celebrant, was like such great energy and just really clicked with us. And so the ceremony felt like the perfect fit for us, and same with our photographer. So I think if you get sort of the vibe quite quickly when you have phone conversations trying to decide which vendors you want to go with. And I think if that initial vibe check, you sort of know if you get on. I just feel really grateful that we found the right people for us, and it just made the day even better. So maybe that's my last tip.
I love that. Such good advice. It definitely is something to think about, because especially some of those key vendors are going to be hanging out with you quite a lot on the day. So you want to have a good vibe with them that's just like easy and natural. Yeah, I've worked with a number of your vendors as well who are all
Oh, cool.
lovely. So yeah, so
Yeah.
good. That Kiwi network.
It's
Yeah.
great. It's really nice to like
Yeah.
see that kind of Kiwi spirit and Kiwi like friendliness. It was really cool.
And what is married life like now? Obviously, you had a few big things happen after the wedding, but yeah, did you find yourself maybe even after the UK one had wrapped, did you get any of the post-wedding blues?
Yeah, we got the post-wedding blues really hard. I think
Mm.
I think we just both had at both weddings we just had such amazing days and we're just so high and full of emotion that the day after did feel like a huge come down. I think the day after our New Zealand wedding, Erin and I went out for brunch and we both just started crying at the table because we were so sad that it was over. And I
Yeah.
think just all the emotion of the day just takes a while to process, or it did for us. But then, yeah, obviously we had to kick on and get on with the next thing, which was our beautiful boy arriving. So yeah, there's always more to look forward to. I think we just had the blues because we had such great wedding days and just felt really lucky and loved and special. So I think that's all it was. And then yeah, we quickly had to get on to the next thing. So we got wrapped up in parenthood, which is the been awesome and a challenge of itself, but yeah,
Yeah.
a lucky one.
Oh, so good. Yeah, so understandable. Lots of highs and lows, big emotions, and yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. It's been so lovely to chat to you today. Is there anything else you wanted to add as we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, so nice to chat. Thanks for having me on. It's just cool to relive it all. And I wish I knew that this existed because I love a podcast and um and yeah, it's just so nice hearing other wedding stories. So yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I know yours is going to help people, and there's a lot of Kiwis living in the UK that kind of come home to get married or are
Yes.
planning from afar. So, yeah, these kind of episodes are really helpful. But yeah, grateful
I
for you
hope so.
coming on.
Oh no, my pleasure. Thank you.